heavy. If you get on a roll, it's very hard for your opponent to recover, or if your opponent gets on a roll or has some really powerful attack that he can spam, then you really can struggle with recovery. So there you go. That's Pokemon. That's my experience with the game. You obviously have the Pokemon from Nintendo, which is a big plus as far as branding, because everyone loves. I think almost every gamer likes Pokemon, whether you're into games or not even into games. Most people like Pokemon, so it's very easy to understand. So there you go. That's Pokemon. Let's talk about Hearthstone for a little bit. Take a drink. Okay. So Hearthstone, I think, it's made by Blizzard. If you don't know that, very popular card game nowadays. As far as like the rules and rules of the game, we're just strictly talking about gameplay right now. We're not talking about art. We're not talking about marketing, anything like that. We're just talking about the rules. Hearthstone's rules. One thing I really like about Hearthstone compared to other card games is, well, you do have the traditional draw one card per turn, which is pretty standard. You also have, what's cool about it is the resources in Hearthstone are different. You don't have to worry about energy cards or land cards or resources that you have to like draw out of your deck. Instead, with Hearthstone, you have a little mana crystals, and every turn you get an additional mana crystal, so that you have a slow building resource pool that you can pull from every turn. It gets a little stronger every game. I mean every round, and that's actually pretty cool. Go to the next song here. Awesome. So I like that because what it does with that mana crystal system is it forces you to what I mean to say is it doesn't let the steamrolliness of Pokemon doesn't happen as much in Hearthstone, because you know exactly every round you're gonna have this many mana crystals. There's variance on that depending on the class that you have, but in general, it's very easy to predict what's going to happen on a particular turn, because you can memorize the spells that your opponent has, and you know on turn 7, if you're fighting against Mage, that you have to watch out for the Flame Strike that deals 4 damage to the the whole row. You know about certain spells that will do certain abilities on particular mana turns. So that's very helpful, because it gets you to really think about what to play on what particular turns to avoid for the following rounds. So I do like that. As far as the creatures, you have all the Blizzard heroes, that Warcraft heroes and whatnot, and if you're into that, I suppose you're even more happy. But I don't think that most people honestly care that much about characters in Hearthstone from the franchise. I think it's like most people just see it as like just general fantasy, something like that, because that's just the way that it is. But it's general enough that you don't have to really know the lore or history of WoW or World of Warcraft to really understand it, and that's okay. I like it for what it is. Okay, so anyways, that being said, though, your creatures have summoning sickness, so this is more of like a soldier type card game where you have to have multiple units on the board that you can fight with and defend with. They have this interesting mobile setup. The game is really designed for mobile audiences, because you can't do anything on your opponent's turn, and also in Pokemon you can't do anything on your opponent's turn. But Pokemon was designed that way, I think, for kids, because it was made before mobile devices were able to play it. Anyways, that being said, you have to use your soldiers or your units, and you manage them with just how you make them attack certain creatures, or you attack the face, all that kind of stuff. So, I think it's for what it is. It's serviceable. I do like the game. I've been playing it since it came out, so I don't really have any gripes as that goes. But in my honest opinion, I don't think it's as interesting gameplay compared to other card games, and that's because the mana crystal system, while it is helpful in predicting what's going to happen in the future, it can grow kind of stale after a while, because you begin to really know what's going to happen, and then you begin to know what spells or creatures can come out at a certain rate. And then furthermore, once you begin to memorize like the spells that can happen, then you can kind of predict how a match is going to go from the 4th or 5th turn. You just know I'm going to lose because I don't have the right cards in my hand. So it really does come down to, with Hearthstone, it comes down to the card draws that you're having. And if you don't have at least a handful of cards that help you draw more cards to keep your hand replenished and full, you could lose pretty easily. So that's one of the things about Hearthstone you have to keep in mind. So that being said, though, I'm going to give Hearthstone, as far as the gameplay rating, I'm going to put Hearthstone at a solid, I'm going to put it at a 6. I think that it's a serviceable, fun mobile game. I don't think it's terribly deep compared to other card games that I've played throughout my life, and at least out of these, this is definitely going to get a 6. There you go. Okay, now we can talk about GWENT and GWENT's card game. Oof. Yeah. Okay, so GWENT is one of the most unique games that I've played from this series by far. All right. There we go. We got no. Where are you at? Where are you at? What's going on, Kirsten? Kirsten! Oh my God! What is going on, Kirsten, man? How are you doing, man? I hope that you're having a great... Oh, perfect song for you, man. Thank you for the raid, man. You're awesome. You're so clutch, dude. Oh, well, if you're interested, you get to hear me talk about my... Yes, sir. Nice dude, yeah. We're talking about, it's the end of the month. I have to talk about my experiment of playing these 4 card games all throughout this month, and my personal experience with them, how I'm going to rank them. And like I was telling Silver, Cocoon, and Aiden in the chat, if you want, you can write up your own little grid if you play these card games too, and give me what your final score is. But anyways, so far I've given Pokemon Trading Card Game Online 7.5 as far as the gameplay. Gameplay, I think, is a solid 7.5 out of 10. I just discussed my thoughts on Hearthstone. I think the Hearthstone deserves a 6. I think it's not as interesting as Pokemon Trading Card Game. It is designed for mobile devices, and I think that's partly the reason. I still love the game, but that's just where I'm at on that. So like I was saying just about now, talking about GWENT, and as I played GWENT, it is definitely the most I think out of all these 4 games, GWENT is the most interesting as far as the rules go. The way that you play the game is just radically different, because you're not drawing a card every turn. Every other card game I've played, every other card game that I can think of, trading card game, you draw a card every turn, and you battle each other's decks, like for dominance, and you do that too in GWENT. It's just everything in GWENT is thought differently, and the way that I described it as I've learned the game is you have limited resources that you have to pull from. So you're not playing one round like in Pokemon, or one match in Pokemon, and then you get 6 prizes and then it's over. Or in Hearthstone, you have to knock your opponent's health down to 0 from like 20, I think, and then that's it, right? In GWENT, you play the game in 3 matches, and you play best 2 out of 3. So once you have received your 2 crown, you get a half crown, and then you get the full crown. When you make the full crown, you win the match. So every round you start with 10 cards, and then you get to mill out a couple cards out of your hand and draw new ones, and hopefully you'll get a good starting hand to play on round 1. There are hero abilities in this game as well, which are pretty unique. They're more impactful than Hearthstone hero abilities, because you only get to use them like once or twice. It really just depends on what it's like, what the deck is designed to do. But with that being said, though, yeah, I really do like Gwent. I mentioned before, you have to. It's almost like thinking backwards because you're not drawing a card every turn, and you're playing down to a certain number of cards that you want to win with your point. You win by having points in a round. And like the way I think I know what I mean. What I mean by playing backwards is that you draw cards at the end of the round, and then that puts you into the next set or the next matchup. That's why it feels so different. But if this game was designed for the computer only, they are making a mobile version of it for the future. I don't think the rules are going to change for that. But and you can't, to my knowledge, you can't do anything on your opponent's turn, which seems to be just maybe it's just a hangover from Magic the Gathering that I have. I keep mentioning that. Maybe I should just put Magic in here too. But I'll just put Magic in here. PTCGO. PG. Okay. Now I haven't played Magic in a bit, but I still know it well enough that I can make some reasonable assumptions about the game. So, anyways, we're good. Okay, so anyways, I think that as far as the rules go, I think Gwent, as far as like out of all the card games I've played, I think I would probably put it. It's definitely not a card game for new players. I think it's a card game for advanced card players, people that have had their time playing other card games and are looking for something different or unique. That's why I took into it so much over this past month. It's very intriguing how you play it. So my final rank on this will probably be, maybe this is coming off a little hot right now, I'm gonna put it at an 8. And I think an 8 is, as far as, I think that's a pretty good rating as far as like just how the gameplay goes in the game. It can be frustrating if you're losing, but once you get a grip on how the game is played and you start to understand that inner reasoning and inner logic of the game, it is actually a lot of fun. So yeah, I think it deserves an 8. I've really not had many bad experiences with the game, and we'll talk more about that reasoning later, but just strictly on the game itself, I'm going to give it an 8. I think it's a pretty well-made game, and it is definitely, it stands out. It probably gets an extra point in there just because of how unique it is. If it didn't have the unique battles, or like best 2 out of 3 system, it probably would be around a 7.5. Maybe, yeah, probably like a 7 or 7.5 is my guess, so. I also love this that from other applications you chose Paint. Yeah, well, you know, Paint is cool, man. I don't care what anyone has to say about that. You don't like it? Which one should I use? I don't know. Should probably use some different colors for these games. But yeah. So there you go. That's the rules. That's what is you do you. Okay, so anyways, that's Gwent. I think it's a solid 8, where it stands today. Let's talk about Shadowverse for a little bit. Excel or PowerPoint? Yeah, I just thought that Excel wouldn't be... Well, Excel would be like too gritty, and I wouldn't be able to expand it too much, so we're just going with Gwent. I mean, with Paint. And also, like PowerPoint, I'd have to make up a slideshow, and I don't want to... Who has time for that? I ain't got no time for that. I need a 30-slide PowerPoint presentation on this. Hey, what's going on, man? What's going on, Ultra How?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
What's going on, Ultra How? So there you go. That's Gwent. I give it an 8. I think just strictly on the gameplay, not talking about the art, not talking about the community, nothing like that. I put it at an 8. I think it's very, very fun to play. Interesting. Unique. Always lurking. Waste magical fingers. Okay, let's talk about Shadowverse. Shadowverse is another mobile game. You can also play it on Steam. I think that it's a game that's similar to Hearthstone. I called it throughout this month. anime Hearthstone, which maybe is not fair to the game, but it's very, very similar to Hearthstone. You have like I think it's like a 40 card deck or something like that. You can have 3 copies of any card in your deck, whereas Hearthstone you can only have 2 cards of a copy in your deck. Music is a bit loud. Okay, I'll turn it down. Turn it down to about there. How about that, guys? Let me know. That's a whole 5 decibels less. If it's still too loud, let me know. You don't have to lie to me. Okay. So, anyways, Shadowverse is it's like Hearthstone, but it's different because it is made by Games, which is like an anime game company. So all the artwork, well, we'll talk about that later, because we're going to talk about aesthetics in a little bit. As far as the rules go, it's different. You don't have hero powers like you do with Hearthstone, because in Hearthstone you have like every hero has a unique ability that they can do on their turn, right? Spending 2 of their mana crystals. But with Shadowverse, you don't have hero powers, but you have like hero passives that will activate when you achieve a certain goal. So Evo system is Mogi. Yeah, that's right, Silver. The evolution system is something that is the unique thing about Shadowverse, and that is where if you go first, you get 2 evolution points that you can use to evolve your creatures that you have. So it's like little soldiers, just like in Hearthstone. You have little people that you can, or big, creatures that you can use to fight either other creatures on your opponent's board, or you can attack the hero, your opponent hero. And that evolution system, I think, it's neat. It satisfies the like unique hero abilities, but the trouble about it though is just that you do, at least in my experience, you do kind of feel like the passives don't feel all that important when compared to Hearthstone's hero abilities. So it's just a mixed bag of you either like the hero system, the hero ability system in Hearthstone, or you like the passive ability with Shadowverse with the addition of the evolution system. So yeah, if you go first, you get 2 evolution points. If you go second in Shadowverse, you get 3 evolution points, which can be pretty beneficial. Just because when you get to evolve a creature, it can really get pretty ridiculously powerful. So, okay, excuse me. The one thing that I know that it's different, that definitely feels different for me, is hero passive isn't too important. Thank God you haven't met Spartacus Sword. Yeah, you have to. Silver says hero passive isn't too important. Well, again, I've only played the games for a month, so I personally didn't feel that the passives were too important to the game. You could get by without paying too much attention to them, but that's clearly not the case once you really get down to the nitty-gritty of the game. But just from playing for a month, I didn't feel they were too impactful to your experience playing the game. That could change if you really take the game super seriously. And the evolution system with I do like the evolution point system. I just kind of felt like it was kind of samey. So I think that the designers of the game tried to, if anything, Silver says that if anything, people want to counter those hero passives. Yeah, that's true. You really just don't want to let your opponent achieve their hero passive ability if you can, and you got to play around that sometimes, and that's true. The evolution system, while it is fun to turn your creatures into bigger monsters, again, it doesn't feel like it's your hero power necessarily. It's just whatever creatures you put into your deck, and that it can really just depend on what cards you have. And I didn't find it to be terribly interesting or exciting compared to just the Hearthstone ability system. So there you go. That's my whole spiel on that. But hey, Marksman, thank you for the host, man. Welcome to the show. So with that being said, the one thing that I want to mention about Shadowverse that it does make it unique and different from Hearthstone, because I think really these two are competing with each other for the same audience, whereas with Gwent or Pokemon, they're just not designed the same. So that's why I'm making these two comparisons so much between Hearthstone and Shadowverse. Silver says the Evo system is more points to designs, to be honest, because every card has two arts of the same card. Yeah, we're gonna get to that in a minute. Some of the cool things about the evolution system for the creature cards or the followers in the game, because they're called followers, is that they activate unique abilities when they evolve, or some cards will evolve just because you did something else, which is pretty cool. So there are a lot of cool ways to get around that. Marksman says I give it 6.5. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put. So anyways, with that being said about Shadowverse, one last thing I want to say about the game, and I have to say it, is that the pacing compared to Hearthstone and Shadowverse are radically different. You can really get going crazy with Shadowverse early in the game, and the prediction level of what's going to happen on the following turn is not what you'd expect as a newcomer, because the decks can be pretty outrageous. And we're going to talk about aesthetics in a minute, which is there's good things about Shadowverse aesthetics, there's bad things about the aesthetics of the game. But so I don't want to muddy my score with that, just because we're talking strictly on gameplay and rules. So I would give Shadowverse, after playing it, I think it is a deeper game than Hearthstone. I think it's more strategically minded than Hearthstone can be, in my experience. I would probably put it about a 6.5 or a 7. I think it's, if you're strictly looking for just on gameplay alone, I would probably, let me put it down for I'm going to put it at a 6.5. So I do think it's a more interesting game on the rules compared to Hearthstone. Okay, well, I have not really played. Silver Cocoon says, I would give it a 7 because they designed the game with tons of cards draws, so the game has less RNG. That is one other thing I forgot to mention. In Hearthstone, there's a lot of RNG that people have long complained about. With Shadowverse, there is not a lot of RNG, and for that's one of the reasons why I do think it's a more strategic game, more interesting to play. But like I said, I would give it a 6.5 or a 7. I think if I played it a little bit longer, I'd probably be at a 7. I think if you're looking for, and again, it is on a mobile, you can play it on your phone if you want. It is on Steam, so you can play it on your computer if you want, probably on your tablet too. So it is accessible. It's really, really cool. But anyways, that's where I'm at for now. It's a 6.5. Alright, I'm going to talk very shortly about Magic across the board here, because I'm going to assume that everyone here has played Magic. If you haven't, that's you'll just have to suffer through. And I haven't streamed it, so I'm just going off of old memories here, but you'll have to trust me that I've played Magic the Gathering for a very, very, very long time. And I think I can make my assessment on all of these assessments or like criteria without having to play the game ever again, because I've just played so much of it. Magic is a very deep game. It's one of the oldest trading card games. I think that it's deeper than Pokemon trading card game. You have a lot of options over the years, especially if you play with, like, you're just playing with your friends and you're not keeping up the ranked stuff. I haven't played ranked, so maybe I should mention to say that all of my scores so far have been on the ranked setting or something like close to that, or some kind of like competitive reasoning is going into my scores. I do think that it is on the scale of Pokemon trading card game even better than Pokemon trading card game because you can do things on your opponent's turn that can really radically change the pace of the game, or at least keep the pace somewhat steady for you and your opponent. I really do like Magic. I just haven't. I don't have the money for it. But I would probably put it at I put it at a 7.5. I think it's a good game. It's worth playing, especially if you have a bunch of friends. So yeah, I think it's one of the oldest. It's one of the granddaddies of card games. It has great fantasy art, to my recollection. They started doing a lot more with their stories in the game too. So you have like these planeswalkers that kind of change the game. I actually don't like the planeswalkers that much, but with that being said, though, I do like the game. So I'm gonna give it 7.5. Okay, let's talk about art. Let's talk about the art in the game, or the aesthetics of the game. You guys can let me know what you think. I say 5.5, says the marksman, because after a while it gets repetitive and you can tell what they will do. That's totally understandable. That's how it is with me in Hearthstone. So I totally hear you, man. I just think that there's more diversity in meta strategies in Magic than most of these card games. Okay, let's talk about the art and aesthetics of these games. So Pokemon trading card games art and aesthetics are a little bit all over the board. Some card art is amazing, looks really cool, very flashy. The rainbow rares are very exciting. The full art trainer cards are really beautiful. It's all has that attractive Pokemon anime look to it, so it's very easy to understand. It's not too like expressive. That being said, some of the art in the game is just not very good, and I'm speaking of the most recent set. So it's not that most people are playing like the commons that don't get too much attention, that have some of the bad art, but you know, it just depends on whoever they hired to do the art for that particular card. So you do get the Pokemon, which are pretty awesome. They have a variety of art styles in their card game, in the cards. So some will be digital art, some will do like watercolor art, some will do little knitted little figurines that they took pictures of and stuff, which is pretty cool. So it has like I said, there's just a variety of art. I think I'd put, as far as just the aesthetics, I would put Pokemon at, I think a 6 is where I'm at on the art for Pokemon. I think they could do a lot better with the art. They could choose to have better standards for the art style that they're gonna pick. They could do, if they wanted, they could do an artistic style for each expansion that would make all of them look a certain way. They did that with the Detective Pikachu expansion, where all the art looks are like screen stills from the movie, which do look pretty cool. But a lot of the cards look, I mean, they're consistent, but some of them are consistently strange looking because they just don't look that good in the way that they made them for the film. So anyways, that's where I'm at with that. I'll put it at a I think I said a 6. I think that's where I'm at. So yeah, 6 for the art in Pokemon. Okay, Hearthstone's art. Hearthstone's art is, I thought for a long time, I think it's good art. I don't think it's the most amazing art in the world. Silver says, the art is literally the IRL card game, which is too bad when they can be more creative with it. Yeah, the art is just the art game. Yeah, I think Pokemon could do a lot better. They could hire just more skilled artists to make more expressive. Like, the thing about it is, like, with the Pokemon art, there's not a lot of background to some of the cards. Don't have they just don't have good backgrounds, so they're just the Pokemon with like a blurred image, or like a blurred like background or whatever. So like it's just it's not, and then some of the art does have backgrounds. So that's why I'm saying like it's just really all over the place with Pokemon. So that's why I'm giving it a 6. But it's hard, Silver Cocoon says, or just not set it to be the exact copy of the RL card game. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, Hearthstone's art is, I think, more consistent throughout all of its creations as compared to Pokemon trading card game. The art is overall good, passable. There's not a lot of bad art cards with Hearthstone, but there's not, in my view, there's not a ton of like amazing art. And also, one thing to bear in mind too is just that with Hearthstone, there's not a lot of space on the card for art to begin with. It's very tiny little space. Even on like when you're playing on the computer, like art is just not big enough for you to really look at, which is kind of frustrating. Also, one thing to mention about all of these card games is they have like the regular common version of the art, and then they also have like a holographic or like a foil version of it. So I should mention those too. I did mention the secret rares and whatnot for Pokemon, which are very cool. I do like the art style for that. The animated look, the animated and gold versions of the Hearthstone cards do really cool like moving effects or like wind effects or electrical effects on the cards, but they're not really moving. They're just like they're gimping or like aping movement or like pretend movement, but it's not really like performing any actions in their cards. Some of them are, but for the majority of them, they're not. So I think that overall the art in Hearthstone, it's a solid 7. I think it's good. It could be better, but it's not bad. So that's where I'm at with Hearthstone's art. It's a 7. Okay, let's talk about GWENT's art and aesthetics. I think that the Hearthstone, the GWENT cards are, they're more mature, definitely. So it might be a turnoff for some people to have half-naked ladies on their cards, or really, really violent images on their cards. You can see just recently, I was streaming Hearthstone yesterday, and they took out a lot of the more sexy or provocative cards and the more violent cards, and they replaced the artwork with less controversial art. But with Gwent, you're getting the full Monty. So you're seeing people being bitten in half by by bears. You're seeing spears being thrown through them, heads being chopped off. Like I said, half-naked ladies, all kinds of crazy stuff. And also, like, just some of the cards are like just the way that they're worded. They'll use expletives in the card titles. So very, very more like on a, and I wouldn't say realistic. It's like a more mature, cartoonish art. And I do like the art in the game. Silver Cocoon says, for the art in Gwent, I would give it an 8. It is detailed and the animation is more alive. That's one thing I want to talk about. As far as the rares in Gwent, the animated cards are way more animated. They're actually like moving and performing actions in their cards, in their like artistic boxes. So you'll see people like running or swinging their swords, or I don't know, filling cups, or doing like actual like little actions in their animated versions of themselves, which is really cool. Like there is no other card game that I'm going to talk about today that has that going for it. So they don't have the same foil effect or like foily look that other card games do with like gold and sparkly or anything like that. They just have a little gem in the top left that will tell you the rarity of the card. Maybe they'll have a gold border, but as I played, I had a hard time telling between the bronze border cards, which are like common cards, and the gold bordered cards, which are like more rare. I just couldn't really tell the difference. I had to be told a couple times whether or not it was gold or not, so they could have done better on that border, the card border system. But as far as the animation goes and the art in general, I think it's a solid 8. Maybe even 8.5. It's probably 8.5. It's one of the better looking card games. It teeters in my head between an 8 and an 8.5. Silver says, I just could not give it a 9 simply because 80% of the card design is all about violence, to the point when violence theme is like a spice rather than describing the card's lore. Yeah. I think that that's a good criticism of the art, is that it is, like I said, a very violent game. Okay. So I'm going to put the art at a solid 8 for Gwent. Let's talk about Shadowverse's art. The art in Shadowverse is unsurpassed. It is, especially if you like anime, it's unbelievable how good this game looks. It is beautiful. And the cool thing too is, with the common cards, the uncommon cards, and especially the legendary cards, everything is top notch. Like, there is not a bad looking card in that game. There's some artistic choices that don't look that great, but I'm talking about the very, very far and few between. Most of the cards in Shadowverse look amazing. And the cool thing too about Shadowverse's art is that you have every card that's a creature has an evolution version of itself, which makes it look even more interesting. So I really enjoyed that was one of the first things I commented on and drawed me into the game, was how good the game looked. You could tell that Cygames and the artists that they hired to do their work really poured into the way that the game looks. And that's also to speak about the also that goes towards the arenas that you get to play in and fight in. There's a grand diversity of like areas and places you can play and fight in the game, and they are all very interesting and fun to look at. Same goes for Gwent. Gwent has its own artistic look and feel, but it's not too radically different. Hearthstone has multiple like areas you can play in, but they're all like in the same table. I think Hearthstone's pretty good on that front. Pokemon has the worst aesthetic for like the table that you're playing at. They really need to change it and make it look more interesting. It's just a very bland, fake looking piece of wood that you're playing on. Like, it just looks awful. And that got to the point too when I was streaming Pokemon that I actually took out the left and the right side of the game because there was nothing happening on those, nothing happening on the side of the board that you're playing on. So I was like, well, people don't need to look at these fake pieces of wood. I'll erase them and put my own cool video, my looping video in the background, so that, I think it makes the game look even cooler when I can do that. And if you can do that, then it kind of speaks poorly of the game, in my opinion. That's another reason why it's lower than the others. Silver Cocoon adds his thoughts and says, I will give Shadowverse art at least a 7, simply because they focus too much on the waifus. Because they know how good it is to have good waifus in your games. Otaku will swallow it all, but it can become a turnoff to people that aren't into anime. That's true. The one thing you could criticize the game for is there are a ton of waifus in the game, and it can be very distracting. They're not too sexually provocative, but the game, I think, probably a good 40%, maybe even 50% of the creatures that are followers you have are women fighting and are anime girls fighting, and it's not like they're not good to look at or anything, or that the art is bad. It's just that there's so many of them that they kind of blend in after a while, and they all start to look the same. So they would benefit by having like different creatures or monsters that you could play with or add into your deck. Silver adds also, but the board design is wise. It is at a 9 out of 10 because they're super creative with what you can do with the board and how alive it is. Yeah, that's what I really like about compared to the others. I think Shadowverse's aesthetic on the boards they're top notch. They are just really cool, beautiful to look at, and they're not as interactive as Hearthstone's are, but that's not a big deal for me. With that being said, though, one thing I want to mention about Shadowverse, I did highly praise the art in this game, but it is so good that it can actually become really distracting because it's just so nice to look at. And also, there's a lot of like whiz bangs and crazy things going on when people are playing cards and stuff, and you just have no idea what's going on because there's so many like flashing things going on that you have to slow it down to really grasp what's happening. The other thing that's worth mentioning about the cards is is that there's no text on the cards. You have to click on all the cards to see what they do, and there's not a lot of like formality to. Every card is really unique, and that's why it got a higher score than Hearthstone. But I just wish there was a bit more keywords and formality to Shadowverse so that it was just easier to comprehend. It was just the thing about Shadowverse is that it's harder to comprehend because there's just every card is just you have to keep a lot of these cards in the back of your head constantly, and if you don't know what each card does, then it can be very disheartening. But with that being said, though, the art is pretty amazing in Shadowverse. I think it's the most interesting, and the anime style does help the game. They nail it perfectly. So I would definitely put the art style at probably a 9.5 or 9. I think it's really, really good. So there we are with that. Silver says they try to cut down more words. Currently, they are trying to formalize strike. Okay, well there you go. I'm glad that they're noticing the issue there, because that's one of the problems that I had, is that every card is so wordy that it's just very, very painful to have to click on everything and read what it does. So I think it's mostly because it is a Japanese company, so they need to adjust to it. That could be the case. There might be just like a language barrier that's going on for the American audience or English-speaking audiences, and they're not catering to that wordiness that can be a real problem for us. But it is what it is. Magic has really kind of been the progenitor of the keyword system. The card game can get a bit wordy at times. I don't think it's as bad as Shadowverse is, or just the but anyways, we're talking about the art for Magic. So the art in Magic is I think it's a solid 7. It's pretty good. It's not the most amazing art. Some of it is good, like really, really good. But overall, it's just at a 7. The keywords that was more built into the gameplay section. Okay, let's talk about the next category for these card games. I'm gonna go with accessibility, or just like let's see if I can. Scoop. I don't have a way to. Yeah, can I? Yeah, let's see here. We're just gonna put the word able for how able can you. Able. Not the best word for this category, but ability to play the game. Silver Cocoon says, for Magic, I think it falls with the same problem with Pokemon. It is IRL cards game going into a digital card game, so got their limits. Yeah, that's true. Like, no, not pay system. I'm talking about like just like accessibility, like the ways that you can play the game. How can you play the game? So that's yeah, maybe there's a better word for that, but the availability of the game. So with Pokemon Trading Card Game, you have only the computer client and only the physical cards. There is no accessibility. That's what I'm thinking about. Yeah, I can erase that and just put ACC for accessibility. Put that here. I'll put accessibility instead. That's a better word. Accessibility. It's shortened, but that's what it is. Okay, so the accessibility of Pokemon is not where it should be. You can buy the cards in your local game shop, and you will get cool codes that you can use in the game, that's really awesome. So you can make decks and play on the computer at home. But you can play on tablets, I think, but you can't play on your phone. And that's unfortunate because I would really like to play Pokemon on my phone. But other than that, though, it's okay. So I'm gonna put it at a 5. There's nothing really wrong with the accessibility, just that it doesn't have a mobile version. And I think that would actually be pretty awesome if it did. One of the criticisms of the game too is I think the reason why that is the case is that the company Nintendo has not really paid attention to it. I think they have someone else. I think they outsourced the game to another company to run or take care of, and for whatever reason, Nintendo just has washed its hands of the trading card game, and they just license out That's what it feels like. Okay, let's talk about accessibility of Hearthstone. You can play on your phone, you can play on your tablet, you can play on your computer. There's really no way that you can't play this game, so I guess as far as checking off all the boxes on that, maybe this is not fair. I'm going to put this at, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get these here. I'm going to erase this here. We're going to give Pokemon 2 points, because you can play on 2 different systems. Your tablet, or your computer, or in real life, right? So I guess maybe yeah, give it a 3. You can play in real life. That's a really bad 3. Ooh, that's not good at all. How many ways can you play the game? You can play it 3 different ways. There we go. Okay, with Hearthstone, you can play it on your phone, your tablet, or your computer. But because it has that phone, I think that's what really is so valuable. So I'm gonna give this a 4. Maybe that's not fair. With Gwent, you can only play on the computer. That's gonna change in a little bit. They have they're working on the mobile versions, and you can't play in real life. I'm gonna give it a 1 for now. When they have the mobile versions available to your tablet or to your phone, then this score will go up. But for now, you can only play it on the PC or on your Xbox, I think. So, or your PlayStation. So, maybe a 2. Yeah, that's the only way that you can play those. Silver Cocoon says, also back to the design topic a little bit. One of the interesting things I noticed is that the IRL cards game turned to digital versus fully digital have interesting design choices, whereas in real life card games need to add a lot of detail on the background of the card, as well as because they need to support the immersiveness of using the background, while the digital card game only needs to focus on the characters, where their voices and animations can help the immersiveness. That's true. Yeah. Gwent gets 2 simply because they only in GOG instead of Steam. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, they could do it better. They could put it on Steam if they wanted, but you can only play it on GOG. Which is it's fine. It's their platform. CD Projekt Red owns it, so they're gonna make their money how they gotta make their money. So Would be nice if it was on Steam though. Shadowverse, you can play on your phone, you can play on your tablet. Shadowverse, you can play on your computer, and it's on Steam. So it really has everything down. The only thing you just can't play it in real life. To my knowledge, maybe you can, but I don't think you can. So I think Shadowverse gets it's a solid 4. I think it is checking off all the possible points you could want for that. Aiden says they have announced that they're still working on bringing Gwent to mobile, and most recently in Discord I posted like the update that they were talking about that. But I think they said, if I recall correctly, they're working on the the iPhone version first. They've been working internally with different tablets, and they plan to have the mobile version out for iPhone out first by the end of the year, or maybe the fall, and then they'll be working on the Android versions after that. So, there's something to bear in mind for Gwent. I think Gwent's score will go up on that regard when they can catch up, when they can catch up. So, Silver Cocoon responds by saying, in real-life card games, or Shadowverse is more of a collectible rather than an actual card game. They only sell it in conventions as souvenirs. There you go. Yeah, and that is probably true for games like Gwent too. You can't play it in real life. It would be really weird or hard to do it. So, whatever. It is what it is. Okay, Magic the Gathering, obviously you can play it in real life. You can play it on the computer through Steam, I think. I don't know. I don't know if they have a mobile version of... Do you guys know if Magic the Gathering has a mobile version, like on your phone or your tablet? I don't know. Probably has a tablet version, but I don't know if you can play it on your phone. So maybe we can hold off on that score until you guys let me know, but my guess is that no, there is MTG Arena. The one in Steam isn't the official one. Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm probably gonna put it at a 3 for now, just by my guess. That's a guess. I probably would know about it if it had its own. You need a separate client. You do? Okay, yeah. Then it's at a 3. It's in the Pokemon situation basically. Oh. Okay, so there you go. That's that. Let's talk about the communities of each of these games. So we're gonna go with communities.
Okay, let's have fun.
That just looks awful. Yeah, alright, so there's community there. So what is it like for the communities in Pokemon, Hearthstone, Gwent, Shadowverse, Magic? So this is unique, and this is going to kind of border into... no payment system first. We're going to talk about the payment system last. I think that might be one of the things we can cover last. Let's talk about the communities in each of these, and this is going to be wrapped up inside along with just Twitch in general, because I think that's definitely where maybe half of the community finds itself playing the game, outside of like at home with your friends and stuff. Silver says, I think community can be rated into niche versus general. Yeah. So for Pokemon trading card game, you can play Pokemon at your local card shop if your card shop hosts it. Most of the people you'll play Pokemon with probably are going to be kids or young adults. The community online is pretty tight-knit because there's not a lot of people playing the game or streaming it compared to other card games on this list here. Rating it is a bit tough, so I don't know. I would think it might have to go simply by numbers. Might be one of the categories of this section here, along with with just the the way I feel like the excitedness of the people watching. And then and that's not really fair. This is very anecdotal. This whole system is anecdotal. But this might be one of the most tenuous numbers really for the ranking. I would say Pokemon is at on a scale of 1 to 4, just like accessibility. I think the community for Pokemon is, I'd say, it's at a 2. It could be better. There's just not a lot of people playing Pokemon. People that are playing it are very cool, very excited. I was adopted into the community, but I'm trying to be fair. I could probably score it even higher, but there's just the issue is with Pokemon, like there's just not a lot of people playing the game. So that's the sad thing about it. But the people that are there in Twitch are very supportive, very happy to see you playing and talking to you. And the trading system, the way that you can trade cards in Pokemon is pretty amazing compared to all the other card games I've played. You can actually trade cards, which is just kind of shocking. So yeah, maybe I'll put it at a 3 because I've had so many people donate cards to me, deck ideas, all that kind of stuff. And I've also been able to really bless other people with rares that they're looking for, and it does make a better community experience than some of the others. But there's no like guild system. There's no like real support from the developers to like bolster the community. Like Pokemon, as far as like the developers, in my view, developers honestly don't pay attention to the community. It just seems like no one's really, they're not paying attention at all what's happening on Twitch or anything like that. So that's why I feel like it's at a 2 or a 3. But you know, that's just what it is. So I'm gonna give it a 2.5 for the community for Pokemon. I'm gonna split it right down the middle. Okay, Hearthstone's community, it's got a great, very, very popular. It's always consistently in the top 10 games in Twitch. I think that the community is stratified. You have the extremely popular streamers that garner most of the views. They are very fun to watch, very personable people, but you can't really get their attention unless you give them lots and lots of money. And then you have multiples of people down in the bottom ranks. I met a really great streamer, Matt Chu HS, who streams Hearthstone all the time. Very fun guy to hang out with, so I would recommend giving his channel a follow. But it's just like very top heavy. So that is kind of frustrating about it online. But the one, and maybe this is just me, but I do know a lot of people that play Hearthstone in real life, and it's always fun to hang out with them and talk about the game as well. So I do get that kind of personal connection. You can't trade, you cannot trade cards in the game. You can only craft them, which kind of stinks. So that's why I'm gonna put Hearthstone at a 2. I mean, the developers are paying attention to the game and the community, but they have a lot to manage. I think that if you're looking to get into a game just for the community, Pokemon is actually a better game to get into. You're gonna get a lot more people that actually want to talk to you and hang out. GWENT is another game that is more popular than most. I think it's at a happy medium. It's at a happy unique feeling or circumstance. It's not so big that you can't get noticed, but it's big enough that there are, professional streamers playing the game constantly. They're getting a lot of good views, but it's not so stratified. I can't say the word. It's not so drawn out that like it's not top heavy like Hearthstone is. Also, you have like Russians and Polish people playing the game. Sometimes you see a Japanese person playing the game. So if you do happen to stream the game, you have a pretty decent chance of getting views because there's only, let's say, there's only like 10 or 15 people in English streaming the game at any given time. So yeah, I've had a good time with the community when I met Aiden, and he's been a great help too. So there's just tons of tons of good things going on in Gwent. I think it's probably in a good spot right now. So it probably will get better once the mobile version comes out. You'll get more people coming in trying the game for the first time, and maybe that might be a little bit disruptive to the community on Twitch. But overall, I think that it's in a good, healthy position, and I would like to see it grow. You know? Silver Cocoon says Gwent is still growing mostly because it is still in beta, but they are smart by integrating with Streamloop. That's another awesome thing about. Thank you for reminding me of that. You do get the drops for just watching people on Twitch. For every half hour, you have a chance of getting some in-game meteorite dust, which you can use to get unique items in the game, which is pretty awesome. I got a couple drops just by watching my own stream, you know. So yeah, I think that Gwent's a solid 3. I think it's a decently placed game. 4 is the max on this section. Community in Shadowverse is there's a lot of Japanese people playing the game, and there's a handful of English-speaking people playing the game. I met I think I had Silver Cocoon playing Shadowverse, and Just a Guy also told me about the game. So I think there's a good amount of people playing the game, but to my understanding, there's not a whole lot of people, at least in English, playing the game. I had a good time playing the game, meeting people there too. I think that it's in a good position. It's right in that happy middle ground where it's big enough that you have a solid 1,000 people watching it at any given time, but out of those 1,000 people, you have, let's say, 500 or so being Japanese people only. So you're really stuck with only about maybe 500 people or so watching Shadowverse in English. So it's bigger than Pokemon as far as like numbers go. I think it's a little bit behind. I think it's behind where it could be compared to Gwent as far as the community goes. They do have, for the streamers, they do have like a drop system, like a drop system per se, where if you stream the game for a certain number of hours, then they'll give you free pack codes that you can give out to your friends or for the people that are watching. So they're doing something with like an affiliate type program for people that want to stream the game a lot. Silver Cocoon says they are still trying to draw an English audience. So far, it's mostly Japanese and Koreans. They have Twitch support systems where you can hand out cards if you stream Shadowverse. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. So I think they're doing okay. I think they could do better, but I think they know where their bread is being buttered, and it's definitely by the Asian audience. So I think if you want to play the game or stream it for an English-speaking audience, you could really trailblaze on this, because there's not a whole lot of English people playing the game. But that being said, though, it's their esports are crazy wild though. I was watching one of them just by happenstance when I was getting into the game, and it did look pretty crazy. So I think my rating here is gonna be a 2.5. I think it's solid. It could be better. I don't know if I can really give a rating on Magic's community, because I haven't spent much time with it. So I'm just gonna pass on. I'm gonna give this a 2 for average. I don't honestly know. I think that this Magic is gonna be a bit on the top heavy side. So alright, there you go. Would you let me voice chat with you? Yeah, sure, Marksman, let's do that. When I'm done with this ranking, then I'll add you on, and then we can discuss my final scores. But let me just finish up with this here, and then we'll do that. Okay, so there we go, that's that. Let's talk about the pay systems in the games. Now, I have to tell you guys, I have not paid money in some of these games, so I'm gonna have to rely on your guys' opinion on this section. Some of the games I have spent money on, some of the games I haven't. So that's just gonna be the way that we're gonna have to trudge through this. Okay, I'll let you know if I'm still awake. Alright, hopefully it won't put you to sleep. Oh man, it's already 3 o'clock. Maybe I'll wrap it up here. We'll have the last half hour to talk with you. But yeah, the community. There's a lot of I know a lot of back end issues that's going on with the Magic community and the judges program that is really gross and disgusting. But I don't really want to get into that right now. I think it's Silver's talking about some of the issues going on with MTG. Yeah, they had a fallout with the judge program because there were a lot of pedophiles in the judge program that got exposed, and then the Magic the Gathering Wizards of the Coast that run the game basically wanted to hush the people that were talking about that, which is if you know Jeremy Hambley from the Quartering and from Unsleeved Media, he was kind of the person really pushing that, and I really like the Quartering, so maybe that tells a little bit about my personal views on the community in Magic. He got banned from the game for saying some bad things to a cosplay artist for Magic. But with that being said, though, I think that Wizards of the Coast didn't handle it the way they should have, and they've recently started to address some of the really awful people in the judge program. So we'll see. I don't know if it's going to get much better, but as far as the online community goes, I really can't speak to it. I'm just giving it a 2. I think it's average. That's a total guess on my end. Let's talk about the pay program, the payments, and ways that you get into Pokemon. Oddly enough, Pokemon trading card game, it's not too hard to get a decent running deck for like $10 and just start going ham in the online game. And also, because of the community having the ability to trade cards, you can actually get pretty far and by not spending too much money or no money even. So I think you can get your cards through packs in the store. You can get your codes for decks from the decks that you buy in like a Target or Walmart. And you can play with those decks in game. You can even trade those cards, which is just amazing. So I think overall I'm pretty satisfied with the Pokemon trading card game online. Now, as far as the actual cards and the physical cards and their costs, I'm not talking about that because I don't know any idea of how the secondary market is for the physical game. But for the online game, I think it's pretty good. I think it's fair. It's definitely fair. So with that being said, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's fair. I think there's nothing really bad I can say about it. There's nothing like amazing or cheap about the cards. You can get them all for decent amount of money. That's not gonna break the bank over it. So, all right, let's talk about Hearthstone and the payment system in Hearthstone. Every couple months they release a new expansion for the game, which they'll give you the option to spend like $50 for like 60 packs for the new expansion. You can spend like $20 for or like $10, I think, $10 for like a starter bundle set, which is not bad. It's not the most amazing bundle set in the world. I personally have spent about $60 on Hearthstone over the course of the game's lifetime, and I felt that the purchases were not worth it. I wish that the drop rate was a little better for Hearthstone, especially when you're spending real money and you're not getting the legendaries that you really wish that you were getting. So I think it's like $20 for 20 packs or something like that, and it's just okay. Yeah, I don't really like it. So I wish that I wish you could get just maybe 5 more packs or so. I don't know. So yeah, it's kind of expensive in my opinion. So Silver Cocoon says, for Hearthstone, I think it tells a lot about their payment system when quite a lot of people jump to Shadowverse just because they can't get a lot of cards just by playing free-to-play Hearthstone. And that's the thing, like, you can play Hearthstone free-to-play, but you're not going to get the decks that you really want to play without really seriously grinding. And, you know, it is what it is. It kind of sucks. So I'm going to put Hearthstone at a 5. I think it's below average. I think they could do better with the drop rates and with the purchase power of the digital cards. So, okay, let's talk about GWENT for a second. Okay. GWENT seems like it's decently priced for what you're getting because the amount of cards in each section in the basic set and the expansions are pretty low. What I mean by that is, like, the base set is, my guess, the base set is around like 200 cards, and then each of the expansions are just very minimal. They're not these expansive, explosive expansions with thousands of hundreds and hundreds of cards. It's just like 100 cards, and they're gonna very tweak the game very tightly. So I feel like the expansions are actually pretty good. The most recent expansion for GWENT is called Syndicate, and it adds an entire new hero class into the game. What's going on, SPU Dev? In the Pineapple Justice system, veggie-based offenses are considered especially heinous. Twitch community, the dedicated streamers who investigate these vicious felonies, are members of the squad, known as the Special Pineapple Unit. To the stories, dun dun. Aiden says, more importantly, it's not very hard to get all the cards without paying, and that's true. That's true. It's not terribly hard to get the cards that you're looking for. In GWENT, you can spend, I think, probably a solid $50 and make multiple decks for what you want. And like I was saying earlier, the Syndicate expansion is strictly for the new hero class. They have some like trade over cards, but they didn't add like cards for the existing sets, so the existing heroes, I should say. And so for that reason, I think they're being pretty responsible and fair and honest with their purchases. You also have the awesome ability to get the Thronebreaker story mode, which does add new cards to the game, but you can actually just craft those if you don't want to spend like $20 for the Thronebreaker adventure game, which looks like a lot of fun. I would like to play it at some point. So overall, I think that GWENT, I think they're doing fine. I think they're at a 7. They're fine. They're fair. The reward system in the game is fair. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, honestly. I think they're perfectly fine. Silver says, for GWENT, it's really nice because they limit the epics and you can get a lot of cards you need with only needing 25 in the deck. It's true, the deck size is only 25 cards, so it's not like you're looking for a full 60 cards, which can be kind of crazy. 25 is not bad at all. And it's all about good investment with the players. Yeah, that's true. And the other thing that's really awesome about GWENT is that you get to pick your rare every time you open up a pack of cards or a barrel. So because you get to pick your rare, that also really adds a lot of benefit. So you're not constantly getting multiple copies of cards that you have to dust or whatever, which is really awesome. SPU Dev says, nothing, what's up, AC? I just figured I'd pop by. Oh, dude, thank you so much for hanging out. We are talking about card games and my experiences playing all these card games this past month. And I'm rating them on all these different things. So we have on the first row here, we have gameplay, we have art, we have accessibility right here, we have the community in this section here, if you can see my mouse, and we're talking about the pay rates right here. Oh, the only card game I know is Yu-Gi-Oh! I should play that one too. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a lot of fun too, I just haven't played it in a bit. It's been a while, it's been a hot minute. Okay, so anyways, let's talk about Shadowverse and the pay and reward system in Shadowverse. So Shadowverse is kind of crazy because when you log into Shadowverse, if you want to play a you want to start a new account, and Yu-Gi-Oh is Yu-Gi-Oh Pro. You want to start a new Shadowverse account, they say, "Oh, thank you so much for playing Shadowverse. Here, let's give you like 90 packs that you can open right now to get your collection started." So as a new player, it's kind of unfreaking believable. Like, you're just basically handed an entire box of cards, effectively, in like an entire like case of like cards. You're like, "Oh right, I just opened up like 600, 700 cards, and I got legendaries, and I got silver animated cards, I got this and that." It's really, really amazing. Shadowverse is, I would say, probably way too generous with the amount of cards that they give you as a new player. It's kind of stupid how freely they give away extra cards. And of course, the reward system in the game is very generous too. You just log in and you get free stuff. So it's pretty amazing how many cool cards you can get just for logging in. I haven't spent any money with Shadowverse, so I don't know if they have like a high cost on their cards, but I would imagine that it's average, so I don't know. Silver Cocoon says, or Aiden says here, "There's a metric ton of rewards for the story mode and beating the elite AI at this point too." Oh, awesome. And Silver adds that for Shadowverse, they actually sell you a deck as a choice as well, so you aren't forced to slave off the RNG from packs. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Shadowverse is unquestionably the most generous and the most fair compared to all the card games, because not only do they give you the option to play with their decks for free and then tell you can purchase them if you want, but they let you play with the decks in story mode for free if you're losing, which I had to do, and I was like shocked by it because that was really awesome. The other thing that's worth mentioning is you do get a lot of free drops from doing the story mode, and the other thing that's worth mentioning is if you log in, you get free stuff. Every day you log in, you get free stuff. And one of the cool things about the game that no other card game does is that they will break down the percentages of the drops for each expansion, so you can tell what the rarity is, the chances of getting an animated card or a legendary card just by percentages. So going in exactly the chances that you have for getting that awesome legendary that you want, or an animated gold legendary or whatever. Like, exactly what your chances are, and none of the other card games tell you that information. So it's actually really, really, really awesome. I would put the pay and reward system here at a solid 9. I think it's absolutely solid. Nothing that I could think about the game that's actually bad. The only way that it could be better, honestly, would be, I don't know. It's amazing. I guess just being free, completely free, but that's not even possible. No one can do that. So Silver says, "For that part is more of the law for the Japanese and Korean gambling, and packs and gacha fall into gambling by law. Not like in the US where loot boxes is considered gambling." Yeah. That might have a lot to do with it though. So, okay, guys, and then Magic Online. I should probably put an O here. I haven't. There we go. I haven't really played it, so I can't say. My guess is it's something similar to Pokemon, because you can purchase the packs at your local card shop. I would imagine that there's codes in there that you can use to get digital versions of the packs that you purchased or the decks that you bought. So I'm just gonna guess that it's at somewhere at a 7, something similar to Pokemon, because it's being run by the same company. So, all right, guys, I think that's all I have. I don't think there's anything else. Is there any other category that you guys can think of that matches or that should be talked about with card games. Other than that, I think what we can do is start tallying these numbers up. So let's go here. Come on. There we go. Awesome. Alright, so for Pokemon we have 7.5 plus 6 plus 3 plus 2.5 plus 7. That equals 26. Pokemon's final score is a 26. General experience? I think that's just incorporated into the final score, or like into each individual score, because that's general experience. Yeah, I think that's just covered with everything. So I don't know if that's gonna. I don't think that'll make much difference. Okay, let's talk about Hearthstone. It'll be 6 plus 7 plus 4 plus 2 plus 5. 24. Wow, look at that. Our Gwent is going to get an 8 plus an 8 plus a 2 plus a 3 plus a 7. And then Gwent is at a 28. Wow, look at these scores, guys. Shadowverse is at a 6.5 plus a 9 plus a 4 plus a 2.5 plus a 9. 31. And Magic is going to be a 7.5 plus a 7 plus a 3 plus a 2 plus a 7. 26.5. Wow, this is actually amazing. Alright guys, tell me what you guys, if you guys have your own scores here, tell me what you think. If you've been keeping tallies here. So the winner for today, for this month, is Shadowverse. That is actually pretty amazing. Here we go, guys. I think if there's one thing I can say about these games for their final scores, put a F here for final. I think that Hearthstone probably is the weakest game on the list. When I streamed it, I never got anyone watching me. Yeah, Hearthstone will be eliminated, definitely. I only had my regular viewers come in to watch me play Hearthstone. I don't think I really met anyone that was interested in watching me play just by myself, you know. So I had people coming from other card games come to hang out with me and talk. So that's where I think like the community really just struggles, at least online. It's just not that great. So for this month, Hearthstone is getting squashed. We're going to kill Hearthstone. Okay, what's the next runner-up here? Pokemon trading card game is at a 26. It's 2 points up from Hearthstone. I want to keep Pokemon because that's the game that I really made my chops on Twitch with, and I have a lot of good friends in that gaming community, so I don't really feel that I can drop it. But if I were to, just based on the numbers, if I didn't have that community backing me, I would drop Pokemon. I would stop playing it. But the truth is, I have such a great relationship with other streamers and people that play Pokemon that I really don't feel like it'd be the right thing to do for me or to the other people that I've hung out with. So that's why I think we're gonna hold on to Pokemon for now. Doesn't mean forever, it just means for now. So question is, what game in exchange for Hearthstone? Ooh, I've got some ideas. Okay, let's talk about Gwent. Gwent is at a 28. It has definitely been, for me personally, one of the more exciting games. I think it's better. I think it's more exciting than Pokemon. Uno! I like it. I intend to keep playing Gwent on stream. It has just been so much fun. I have spent many days at work waiting to come home and play Gwent because it's been on my mind that unlike other card games that have been on my mind. So I really enjoy it. I intend to keep playing it. So there you go. Okay, Shadowverse. Shadowverse, for my personal opinion, received the most points. I think that for the general gamer experience, it is definitely worth your time. There's a lot of great things going for Shadowverse. I really do appreciate the people that I've met and the games that I've had with it. It is the most generous card game out of all the games that we talked about tonight. And yeah, there's nothing really wrong I can say about Shadowverse other than that I said before, the amount of text that you have to read in the game and the flashiness of all the craziness can be really distracting at times. But if you're willing to spend the time with the game, willing to dig down and really understand the mechanics and the pacing and the structure and the deck construction, there is no question that this is the game to play. Shadowverse is an excellent mobile game. It's an excellent game to stream on Twitch, and I highly recommend that anyone keep playing it. I think it's a wonderful thing. And if you want to know, on my show, I do have a guild, so you can feel free to join that guild if you want, and start talking with us in the guild, and so on and so forth. That being said, though, although I do think it is probably the best game to get started with as far as card games go, there's something with me that it just doesn't mesh that well. I really like the card game and the people that I've met, but there's something about it that I struggle with, and I think it has to do with just the amount of text, and the meta seems very strange to me by comparison to some of the others. So for that reason, I probably am not going to continue streaming Shadowverse. I might stream it on occasion, just to do like the Take-Two arena games or the Open 6 packs. But other than that, though, I don't honestly see myself doing the rotation or the competitiveness. The story mode is amazing, and I'll probably complete that. But other than that, I would probably pass on Shadowverse. But that's me, though. Okay, that's not you or anyone else. If you're interested in that game, I highly recommend it. I think it's an incredible card game to get into. But just for me, where I am after playing all of these card games, I'm not all that interested in it. So, you know, if I was really into anime, if I was really into the artistic style, well, I do admit it's the best artistic. It is the best artistically. It's just there's a lot of like personal differences I have with the game, and there's nothing against it. So there you go. That's my opinion on Shadowverse. So balance should have been another topic to discuss. That was kind of wrapped up in gameplay with like meta. But you're right, Silver. We could have talked more deeply about that. So for that though, with Shadowverse, I do think it's the most one, so I'm gonna put a half slash to this one. I think it's still it looks actually worse because there's a circle around it. we'll do this. There we go. That looks, there you go. So I think Shadowverse is worth playing. I'll probably continue to stream it every now and then, but I don't see myself doing it for the larger future of the show. So Magic, I can't really say much about it other than what I do. I played it. I gave it a 20. I gave it a 26.5, which is slightly above Pokemon trading card game. I'm probably not going to stream this, at least not for the foreseeable future. That has a lot to do with like we mentioned before, the back end stuff going on in the community that has really just soured my relationship with the company, and the bad treatment of people that really were trying to do the right thing and they got yelled at. So there you go. There you guys go. I think I've kind of said my piece with this. Hey, Krakostopheles, how are you doing, man? It's been a while. Hero! So, anyways, guys, just another day in paradise. Awesome, man. So, what do you guys think? Do you think I had a fair assessment on those cards? I mean, on those games? Do you think that I gave them all a fair shake? Tell me what you think. I think if Shadowverse is on the top of the list, something's wrong. Yeah, I rated Shadowverse at 31, so I do think it's probably the best game to get into, but I don't think it's the game for me personally. So I had a great time with it, but yeah. Yeah, tell me if there's any other card games now that you've seen me you've seen me this whole month play these games and get into and dig down into it, and each of them. But if there's two new, I have slots for 2 more card games. I'd like to see what you guys would like to see next. So I have my ideas of what we'll play next. But if there's a certain card game that you want me to stream next month, now's your chance for me to actually take it seriously. If you don't, then that's okay. I can find something else. Christopherly says, why don't you like it? Apart from the dog shit meta, of course. It's just, I think that there's a lot of reading involved, and the art is very, very good, but the art can be distracting, and the aesthetics of the game can be just very flashy and hard to follow for someone that's just trying to get a handle on the game. So, but I like this. I like that there's a story mode that is very fleshed out and really awesome. I like the Take-Two arena game style. I like the open six packs. I like all that kind of stuff. I think it's a really amazing game. It's just I don't really feel like memorizing the abilities of all the different cards, and I'm not that much into anime like I was before, so it's hard for me to admit that I think it is the best card game that I've played this month, but I don't know, I just don't have this. I don't have the excitement that I did when I first started with it, so it is what it is, guys. So Krakostopheles says, maybe you could try it again someday. Yeah, I will. I'm not stopping streaming Shadowverse. I'm just gonna play it a little less. So that's the idea there. So don't feel bad. I don't want anyone to feel bad, but I'm only one guy, and I don't have time to devote to, all of these different card games. So I have to make cuts and make changes, and do what I think is gonna be fun for me. And then hopefully I can garner and the respect and the audience from just being truthful with you guys, So, Silver Cocoon says, I suggest Soccer Spirits just to try and rate it, but I guarantee it's not a game for you. Okay, well that's definitely worth checking out. Well, wouldn't you be learning new card effects with any CCG? Cards and effects, that's true, yeah. Again, it's not a completely fair system. And I know if I spent more time with it, I could dial down and really get into it. But it's just that there's that attraction to, you're really attracted to the game, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I do think it's I mean, I'll show you the numbers again. I think that it's right here, 31. I think it's the most interesting game that I've, or valuable, I should say, game out of all of them. But I'm not. I don't know. I've just kind of like burnt out on the reading and I don't really like the passive system, the passive hero system. I don't think it's terribly interesting, and the evolution point system is, again, only slightly interesting. So, it is what it is. Like, what I mean by that is, like, that all the heroes have, like, abilities that will happen when you reach a certain goal or passive function that will take on effect when the certain requirements are met. So that's what I mean by that. Yeah. Silver says here, also, do you know that you can turn off the effects for Shadowverse or no? I did know that, Silver Cocoon. You can. That's one thing I should have mentioned is that you can turn a lot of those effects off or limit them so that it's not so animated and crazy. And I think that's what I would like to do in the future when I do stream Shadowverse, because I will continue to stream the game. It'll just be a little bit less. So yeah, that's something to bear in mind for the future. So if it does become an issue, you can turn them off. And again, that's one more reason why Shadowverse it just is so user friendly. Oh yeah, I think it's an amazing game. Trichosophily says, yeah, if the game doesn't draw you in, you can't force it. So yeah, so I feel, you know, it's a little bit of a shrug situation. Just gotta shrug it off and say, hey, it's just not for me. I really love the game. I think it's a wonderful game, but I'm just not gripped by it in the same way that GWENT did for me. So, because GWENT is just unique in that fashion. But it is what it is, guys. It is what it is. So, anyway, so let me wrap up the show here with my last recommendations for what I think will come to be for the future. So, hey Llama, is this our tier list? Wow, oh, you gotta watch the whole VOD now, man. I'm not gonna. I'll show you those. Llama, I'll show you these. Let me show you these numbers here real quick, just that you can take a look at them. I discussed this whole thing over an hour and a half or 2 hours, so you're gonna have to listen to my description of all of them. I'm gonna move on to what I think is gonna happen in the next month or so, the new games I'm gonna try, and then we'll go from there, guys. Accessibility, yeah. Llama, that is accessibility. How accessible is the game to the player? So anyways, it says here, Silver says, TLDR version of it is, if it's not you, it's me. Yeah, I think that's fair. So, it's super accessible. You'll have to hear my description on all that, but alright, well anyways, yeah, here we go back here now so I can talk to you guys directly to the camera. I really had a great time this month hanging out with getting to know all of you guys, and I met you all in different card game communities, which has been my favorite thing out of anything that I've done this month. Is I've met all you awesome card game players in your own card game communities, but I've somehow grouped you all together, and that was the whole point and intention for me, was to just see what other people were doing, play games that I would never have tried unless someone asked me to, and I just had a blast. You know, I had a blast, and my goal is to do it again next month. So I'm gonna keep Pokemon. I'm gonna keep GWENT for now, and I'm gonna adopt 2 new card games. The 2 games that I've been thinking about doing is the Elder Scrolls card game. It's I don't remember what it's called. It's like it is Legends, I think. Elder Scrolls Legends card game, which has a drop system for Twitch, which is a big benefit for views. But other than that, it looks like it's a fun game. I'd like to give it a shot. And then I was talking with people on the stream yesterday, and it's not a live card game, but it's an old one called Metal Gear Acid on the PSP. I don't know if we'll do that for long, but we'll probably give it a shot just to see what it was like, because it looked like fun. I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan, and obviously I think it would work well in my channel to play a Metal Gear Solid card game. So yeah, there you go. That's the idea, guys. So I really have one more slot open. I have Pokemon's gonna stay, GWENT's gonna stay. I think Elder Scrolls Legends is gonna stay. Maybe we'll give the Soccer Spirits game a shot. But other than that, that's where I'm at, guys. So I had a blast talking to you all tonight about my pleasure hanging out, playing card games, and getting to know you all, hanging out, listening to great music, making great jokes and memes. Thank you so much, everyone, for enjoying the show today, and yeah, it's been just so much fun. So I intend to let's see here. I intend to keep it going and see here who is streaming here. There's like none of my friends are streaming. Can you believe it? That's insane. Let's go with Luska Lily. Luska, let's see here. She's doing the Binding of Isaac, so that would be kind of fun. And woo, Luska Lily. I think that's how you spell it. So anyways, yeah, it's been a blast, guys. I will see you next month. I'm moving, so in that time of moving, it'll be kind of crazy. And I'm gonna have to find a new job and everything, but once that's all settled, I will definitely be back on the grind with you guys. So I'll catch you guys later. Bye.
There was an old lady who swallowed a fly. We don't know why she swallowed the fly. Hey, AC80, thank you for the raid up to 7 people. Everyone, welcome. Just playing some Binding of Isaac. Did some DVD earlier. And the Mark Skin, thank you for the follow. What were you playing today, AC? Okay, where was that room I was at before I got shoved out? Goddamn cursed eye. Where was my room? I want my bombable rock. Thank you. Much better. Ow. I wonder it shoved me the upset side of the map. I'm too close to the boss. Good pill. Luck up. Good. Samson is having a good run. Okay, where's my treasure? Treasure, treasure, treasure. Oh, I think having Cursed Eye with Samson is even worse because you want him to take damage. Where? Oh, this way.
Got turned off. See ya.